War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. Here on this live stream on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, as we've always done for a long time, we discuss what is on your mind in the world of the Auburn family spectrum, your calls, your topics, your questions. It is your show, a show that is basically produced by you and for you. And we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Whether you want to talk about Auburn football, whether you want to talk about any other aspect that encompasses anything that you experience within the whole of the Auburn experience, we will discuss it here tonight and hopefully hear from your questions and maybe some of your calls, which we'll get into in just a little bit. A couple of things that I'd love for you to do for me as we get started tonight, whether you are watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you tuning in however you can. Make sure you right now, this is our check-in period, post where you're watching from in the comments section, city, state, international, as well as smashing the like button here on YouTube, retweeting it out on Twitter, sharing it and liking it on Facebook, and putting it into a Facebook group if you are part of an Auburn Facebook group that allows you to do so. Just this is our check-in period for you, and then to invite people to be in our little family within the Auburn family and be part of the conversation tonight. So a lot of you already know how to do that and are doing that for us at this moment. So thank you guys so much. As I said at the top of the show, anything's fair game. We are in the middle of summer. So other than Auburn baseball, everything and track and field is actually going on right now as we speak. There's not a whole lot to like dive into other than just kind of being together, enjoying a discussion together. So we will depend a lot on what you want to discuss tonight. A lot of people are already checking in. So thank you guys so much for that. Let me go ahead and do this, though, as we kind of get started tonight. I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines if you'd like to do that. And I just realized, folks, that I failed you on this part. Normally, that is at the top of the screen. And I am going to go ahead and put it in the chat for you guys right now manually, if you'd like to take advantage of that. But I will get it up on top of the live stream here in a little bit as we kind of go throughout the show. I'll kind of be doing things in the background to get it set up for you. But there is a link that I posted up towards the top of the chat just as we were getting started. If you'd like to click on that, you'll have to scroll all the way up there to find that to call in. But you can do that, and I will get it pinned up at the top in just a little bit. A lot of our regulars are here. Linda, good to see you. I see Devin from Texas, underrated, War Eagle, Auburn Live, anytime. Good to see you. Carrie Yang, Thomas Manville, Kevin's was checking in. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here early and getting checked in here on the show. Got a couple of early questions here. I thought I saw one pop up. Let's get this. Carrie, what are your thoughts on Cory Moore? So I did a video about this, kind of breaking down all my thoughts. So I hope you had a chance to go check that out. But just kind of in summary, you can go check that out for some more detailed stuff. I think, again, as we talked a lot about the wide receiver position. And for those of you who don't know, let me give some context. Cory Moore is a new transfer wide receiver that has decided to join the team from LSU. So we raid LSU all throughout this year in multiple sports, apparently. He did not play a ton at LSU, but there was a lot of expectations for him to potentially do so. So again, it's one of these pieces, a lot like a Dzalen Worsham, who came in from Miami. High potential, high expectations, hasn't maybe been realized yet. And on a unit for Auburn that has been very much needing somebody to realize their potential, the opportunities abound. And so that's kind of where I want to sit comfortably with Cory Moore right now. Very excited to have him. I'm always excited when we add anybody to our roster and to our little Auburn family. But I think saying that somebody is going to be this X, Y, or Z, you know, position wise, but also just saying that, oh, this is definitely what they're going to be is a little bit too early. We want to see how everything else shakes out because there is a lot of wide receivers that have potential on Auburn's roster, and there's a lot that have opportunities to seize that potential with opportunities to play. So we'll see how that shakes out as we go forward. But if you guys have any other thoughts, please do share them. I'd love to hear what you think. Dustin, good to see you checking in. Says national title or bust, says Butch. I love it. Those of you that don't know, Auburn baseball right now is in the midst of a journey through the College World Series ranks. Not at the College World Series yet. They are participating in the Super Regional at Oregon State this upcoming Saturday and Sunday. Monday, if needed, is a 3-game series where best of 3 moves on. So, both teams win one on Saturday and Sunday, they'll go on to Monday. So, hopefully these guys will continue to ride the wave that they have found themselves on right now. My good friend Joe, we've missed you, buddy. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Haven't seen you in a little bit of time, so just want to give you a little bit of a shout out. Dustin, lots of Red Bull heading my way for Saturday and Sunday night. So here's the other thing: so they're playing at Oregon State on the West Coast, obviously, so they got to make the times a little bit different for that. They bumped up the time for Saturday by 30 minutes, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't really seem to help all that much, but I guess we should be thankful. So now 10 p.m. is when both of those games start. So yes, everybody get ready for that. Well, something we need to discuss here, for those of you that are here frequently, I see a lot of you here now. I like to do these post-game live streams. Would you show up even for just a few minutes for a late night one after that? I mean, is that something you guys would be willing to do? Because otherwise, we'd have to wait till tomorrow or to the morning after, which would probably really be the afternoon on Sunday because of my schedule and going to church. So by that time, it's almost game time again. So let me know what you guys think. Would you be willing just to pop on even for a short minute after the game and just talk about what we saw in that game? Auburn Live. How do you feel about the safety position? Well, again, I think, I know this sounds like a broken record. A lot of this is still up in the air because we've lost some. Well, it's a little bit different from wide receivers, right? We've lost a lot of talent, defensive back wise, not just safety wise. But I think the promise that comes from those that are already here, defensive back wise, is a little bit more secure than wide receivers right now because we've seen some talent. And I know I'm talking about defensive backs as a whole, like, Jalen Simpson. We brought in some guys like a Marquise Gilbert who's supposed to rise to the occasion. And I'm blanking on the individual's name from, where'd he come from? It's another transfer, but I did a whole video about him as well, where I think he potentially lands into the rotation. It's been a minute since I did that one, so I'm blanking on his name right now. Carrie, I think we are good at Auburn. Harsin did a good job filling in the holes in the position, and we have a decent quarterback in Calzada, and we have good wide receivers and a few transfer portal gets. I think it's a little early to say we have. Do I think that we have great athletes and great, individuals? Of course, I'm an Auburn fan and I root for them, but I think it's a little bit early to say that our wide receivers are good because it's kind of the same thing with offensive line. They got to start showing a little something for me to start believing that we are good. We have potential, high potential. It's got to be realized in that position. But yes, I do agree that Harsin has done a good job filling roles and filling spots that have been open. I mean, those spots were clearly identified in an interview he did right at the end of spring practice and A-Day, and they went out and filled them. And if you notice that not a single time did they mention offensive line, and everybody yet is still freaking out about offensive line. But that doesn't mean there's not something coming. And the other thing, Calzada, I know that the simple thing to do is to assume that it is Calzada's job. That's probably honestly where you would put your money if you were a betting person, and probably be a smart decision. I just wouldn't expect it to be as simple as that. The funny thing for me is this. I know I'm kind of going on tangents here. Everybody watched that video of Calzada throwing the ball, and everyone's acting like it's the most amazing spin that anybody's ever put on the ball. And there's really no difference. Now, I will tell you that when we've talked about it here on the live stream before, I had it pointed out to me that TJ Finley had a hitch in his little throw, and I saw it during the bowl game and I couldn't unsee it. So everybody's different, but I also it's not that I take exception to everybody saying that was the most amazing throws ever, but it just is like, what are you exactly seeing to say that? It just looks like a quarterback going through the easy reps, but not live whatsoever. And I don't want this to sound like I'm not in favor of Zach Calzada being our quarterback. I think the betting money is him. I just think that it's a little overblown, some of the reaction that I saw about it. Just me. It's the way I like to think about things, and that makes me a weird person. What happened to all our guys that didn't get drafted? I'm assuming you're talking about the NFL. So we had Smoke Monday, who is for a little bit of time was making waves on the New Orleans Saints staff. We did we didn't do a video edit video, but we did discuss it post NFL draft about all of those guys. So you can get some more detailed thoughts about that. But a lot of them got free agency deals that are honestly sometimes better than the deals that they get so late in the rounds of the NFL draft. Saturday and Sunday are going to be late nights. Do we know if they will be on TV? Yes, I believe they are both on ESPN2 now. I think that is, and there's some confirmation from Dusty. You want to do it after the game? Okay, yes, we can definitely do that. I will. Here's what I will do, unless I just hear a resounding feedback from you guys on this channel. No, we don't want a late night stream. We can't do it. I can't be there, or I won't even go back and watch it. That's probably what we're going to do, but we're going to make it very short and sweet. I'm not talking about like 5 minutes, but I do think there is some value in doing it right after, because I mean, it's what it is. It's a reaction show. We're just kind of talking through what we're seeing and stuff like that. We're not like getting analytical and things like that. Saturday, yes. Sunday, I'll be headed straight to bed after the game. Monday, going to be a rough one. Imagine what it's going to be like, Destin, if you have to do a Monday night game as well and watch that. Devin says, I'm excited to listen to the next episode of Huddle with Harse. It's cool to get to know all the coaches. Yeah, I think it's unique idea. I am going to tell you and be honest with you, I have still yet to listen to either of the episodes. And obviously, if it's not already, the third one should be coming out soon. As I told you guys before, my life is filled with podcasts, and they're mainly all ours and video editing and stuff like that. So it's just hard for me to get out of my own habits and do that. But I will do it at some point. I know you guys want me to share an opinion about that. Oh, I'm behind the chat. That's right. Craig McDonald. Thank you, Dusty. I knew I could count on you. Let's see here. Underrated. The wide receiver room is raving about Ike Hilliard. They're going over a lot of film and scheme routes, a lot of enthusiasm, expect more development and mentality as a team. But may I remind you, and this is, I don't know, I think you've been here long enough, Underrated, to understand how I like to operate. I like discussion. I don't just like to be an echo chamber here. So I always like to play devil's advocate. These are the same things that were said under Cornelius Williams. These are the same things that were said, and we're seeing this under Eric Keesaw, as now he was handed a falling apart group. These are the same things that were said under X and Y. So it's, I know it's easy to get excited about those things, and I'm excited for the potential, but I just like to reserve these guys are going to be great until I actually see some of the fruit out on the field. And I'm not saying you guys aren't, just something I like to counter with always. Let's see here. I feel like Ashford could be better than TJ Finley. Well, we can always say who can be better. I mean, we could say, I think this person will be better because of X and Y. I think it's easy for us to always say the guy behind the guy is, there's a little bit more excitement because there's the unknown there. Now, you don't say that for the backups like Sawyer Pate and things like that, because, I mean, those are obvious. But everybody loves the grass is always greener on the other side type of thing. The most popular player is the backup quarterback or the backup whatever position we're talking about. Very excited about the wide receiver position this year. There's a whole page on that position. Yeah, you got a lot of people. I forgot you're doing your you're doing your book on notes and stuff like that. Yeah, I hope it's not understated that I am excited about the wide receiver position, but I also I want cautious optimism, because it's been a while since we've had a Seth Williams, stuff like that, to guys like that to really take hold of the position and make it their own and really make it exciting to watch. As if I seem a little distracted, I'm trying to get the thing set up top for you guys. in terms of the call-in link, because I know it's hard to find if it's not posted up at the top, but I'll post it in the chat box again so you can see it there. I just about have it up for you guys. All right, let me take another question real quick while I'm kind of multitasking here. Back it up. Where were we at on this thing? I wonder if Bo will check out the track and field this weekend and drive down for the baseball game. Linda, that's a great. So she's referring to Bo Nix, obviously. Obviously, I don't think Bo Jackson, as much as he's a baseball guy, is going to, probably travel from Chicago, where I believe he lives, to go down there. He's an Auburn guy, so he might, but I just don't foresee Bo Jackson doing that a lot. But Bo Nix, since he is in Oregon now, he might do that. There's something about the whole Bo relationship that I think he understands, and I think it's posted up at the top now if you guys would like to take advantage of it up there. Sorry for that if not having that ready for you guys. I thought I did. I think there's Bo still values being part of the Auburn family. To what extent he is anymore. Obviously, he plays for Oregon now, but I think he understands it's probably best to keep your distance. And I say that as a huge Bo Nix fan. I said it a lot as we led up to the season. This was going to be his final year, regardless of what happened with him, because I think he was tired of being of stuff that that should never have been a problem, being a negative influence on Auburn, and he was hurting himself and hurting Auburn. Anyway, it's just a convoluted situation. It's great to see that walk-on running back, or was it a halfback, for Auburn to get a scholarship? Well, 6'1", half dozen the other, right? He's a running back, but he plays like a halfback. He's a bigger type of guy. Yes, that was a cool story this offseason. Cory, good to see you, my man. How you doing? Let's see. Let me back up here. Sleeper for the year of the team. Russell says sleeper for the year for the team. Wide receiver Javaris Johnson. I have long wanted Javaris to be one of those guys that surprises us, and it hasn't happened quite yet. There's always this year, though. All right, we got our first caller. Hashtag Auburn fan. What's going on, sir?
Hey, it's going good.
How you doing?
I just wanted to talk about the offensive line, if you know anything about it.
If you're asking me if I know anything about the offensive line, like what in particular are you looking for, like recruiting or the makeup of it right now?
I'm just wondering if we've got a lot of guys back from the offseason.
So, yes, my understanding is that everybody that was hurt or at least nursing whatever injuries or surgeries they have all progressed well enough that they're expected to be back participating already, but fully by the fall. If you're looking for like perspective in terms of the dynamic of the offensive line, Killian Zaire continues to be a name that gets a lot of traction, and I'm very happy about that because I think there's a guy that we talk about untapped potential, right? A lot with wide receiver. This is a guy, because of injuries, he's not been able to show if he has that potential. So that's a name that I would pay attention for. Maybe I don't want to call it breaking into the lineup because there's some open spots with some guys that left, but making a name for himself on the offensive line this year. And then when we look at, I'm taking like on a holistic view because that's just kind of where I went with it. But you look at recruiting, obviously there's not a lot of excitement about it right now. With only bringing in Eston Harris for this season, but also you got Braden Joyner that kind of kicked off recruiting for next season. I think Auburn fans just need to kind of be patient and let that kind of take shape because we're in the mix for a lot of guys. If that kind of answers a lot of those questions.
Well, for the defense side of the ball, I think, what do you think will be top 10 defense, or what do you think about that?
Top 10 defense. So when we look at that, if to answer that question, you got to probably break it down and look at what you got. working with. So we lost a lot of talent defensive back wise, right? So that's a lot of unproven talent there, but there's a lot of talent that we've already seen. So I have a feeling that we're not going to be hurting as bad in that area as we could be after losing Roger McCreary, Smoke Monday, Bradarius Knighton, and I'm forgetting another name as well. But you look at linebackers, I think. Let me take a second there. Defensive line, edge rushers, that type of position that just overloaded with talent. Maybe a little bit of depth issue if injuries start happening, but we filled some of those need transfer portal wise. Linebackers, if Owen Papo can stay healthy and thus help some of these younger guys get the experience under his leadership that they need, that could be the breakout position that really shifts this defense into overdrive. So to answer the question, is it a top 10 defense? Do I think it'll be there? I'm not ready to say it's going to be a top 10 defense, but I would venture to say that it would be on the outside of that parameter, meaning just there right now. I think it's very easy to make for Auburn with the talent they have to make the case that they're in a top 15 category, if that makes sense.
What do you think about the winning prediction for us?
Yeah, which one? Because everyone's gloom and doom right now.
The main prediction for ESPN was 5 wins, and I disagree with that. I think we'll have that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I vehemently disagree with anyone that says Auburn's not going to be bowl eligible. I say it's a given. Obviously, nothing's a given, but it's pretty much an understanding, I think, across college football that unless Auburn just loses everybody, they're going to win 6 games. I think the 6.6, I think, is a lot of that metric that I've seen thrown around. I don't know how you win 0.6 of a game, or maybe it was 6.5. That one is, maybe it's got a little bit more plausibility to it. But I think the expectation starting each year, barring just we brought everybody back or we just lost everybody, should be 8 wins. I think it's very plausible for Auburn to go 5-0 to start off the year at home. I think it's very plausible for them to lose to Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, and still be able to reach 8-4. So that's not an official prediction for you, but that is at least getting in that vicinity. So what do you think? What do you wins wise?
I would say what I'd be happy with is at least 9 or 8 wins.
Okay. Yeah. I think 9 wins is again very possible. I don't know that I'm brave enough to say 9 wins just yet with a lot of the questions that we had. I got time for another question if you want one. Or if you don't, or if you just have like a comment.
I have one. I have one more. People tend to think last year the reason why we fell apart is just because of bad head coaching and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I can disagree with that because if Bo Nix was healthy, it would be a completely different story, and he probably wouldn't transfer to Oregon. Would you agree with that?
I agree that had Bo Nix had not gotten hurt, the year would have been completely different. He'd made progress under Harsin in terms of statistics and things like that people pay attention to. I don't know that he wouldn't have transferred or left. As I kind of talked about at the beginning of this, I have no connection to Bo, no connection to anybody close to him other than when we talked a little bit about his decision and whether he was going to stay or not when that was all going on. I had some information there, but I don't have personal connections to him. But just looking at the situation, I felt that Bo Nix would leave after the season regardless, because the situation, the relationship with Auburn fans is so strained, right or wrong. I think he was ready to kind of have his swan song, no matter how good or bad it was, and walk off to the season. But I do agree with your first statement that had he stayed healthy, Auburn's a completely different team. But yeah.
All right. So, well, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. Call back anytime, sir. Thank you for calling.
All right.
That was our first caller tonight. Good to hear from them. Thank you for being there. Auburn Live. #Auburn Live. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. He is got a great YouTube channel as well. Make sure you pay attention to him if you haven't. So thanks for being here, Vernon. Cory, are we putting the beat down on Oregon State? Based off of the performance last week, if this was in Auburn, I'd say yes. That team is feeling something when they're at Auburn. It's going to be a different story out there, different routines, different things like that. Oregon State obviously struggled with Vanderbilt, who we pretty much handled. Did we sweep them? I think we did. So I do think that Auburn is in a good position to win the Super Regional, but I don't know about a beatdown. I have a strong suspicion we're going to go to 3 games. And yeah, that's how it's going to be. Devin, hope so. Their pitching is going to be a factor for them, I think. Hopefully our bats can get hot and stay hot. It's the same thing that we talked about all year, Devin. And I agree with you that it's not a question of can Auburn score the runs. It's a question of can the pitching keep them from scoring the runs. And last week, except for, at the end of the game, the answer was yes. And not pushover teams, even that Southeastern Louisiana team. I know they didn't look good when they were here, but all in all, that was a pretty solid performance all the way around by Auburn. If we get Mason Barnett and Trace Bright that we got this weekend, we're heading to Omaha. Honestly, I was more impressed, and this is not a reflection on Trace, but more impressed with Mason and what he was able to do, just watching him, especially in person from the parking deck. I thought he showed a lot of moxie that he's had, but not as often as we maybe thought he did have this season. So I was very impressed with that. All right, we got our second caller. I just called him out and gave him a shout out. Mr. Vernon, how are you doing?
Doing great tonight, E2C. How y'all doing tonight? War Eagle to all the Auburn fans out there. How you doing, bro?
I'm just hanging in there, man. I'm trying to get through summer to where we can actually have some, football stuff to talk about. Baseball is holding me over, but man, that itch is starting to grow.
Yeah, I can see. I actually did a video today where I talked about Auburn's first 6 ball games, and it's kind of intriguing as you talk about Auburn. A lot of folks think, well, if you look at the first 5, hey, Auburn might go 4-2, might go 2-4, might go 0-6. And it is just really intriguing when you look at the Auburn fan base and where they are right now. They don't know what Brian Harsin is doing. They don't know what's going on with the Auburn program. So it's just, we're in limbo. Like you say, baseball is holding us over, basketball hold us over a little bit, but now we're at that stage to where we're ready to get some football going.
Exactly. I think we go through this every year, but especially like you touched on when we've had a season that was a little bit shocking into our system in terms of, we all knew we were going through a transition year. There's, things that happen with that. Sometimes you get surprises like Gus Malzahn's first year, and that just is that's weird. But then, it's also even more shock to your system when you go through the offseason, at least the early offseason that we did with Brian Harsin and right or wrong, all that situation that went on. So it's really, we are stuck in a limbo that we are not traditionally stuck in because we want answers. And now we have to wait, was it June? 2 more months still till we really start getting solid answers. So, what's your outlook on it? What do you think about the season right now?
Well, the way I look at it, I think Brian Harsin is doing respectable in the recruiting process. He had some issues at the wide receiver position that I think he dealt with Dejalin Warsham and Cory Moore. But those guys, people look at him like damn, they're so short. They're some short guys, but they're very talented guys and can add to the wide receiver room. What I'm most compelled about is the idea of the linebacker core. I'm really intrigued as to how that's going to work out.
Yes.
And I think, the linebacker core is going to anchor that defense. And you got 2 games to where you can kind of figure it out. And then you have the Penn State game to where I'm disappointed, E2C. I wanted the game to be a night game.
Yes.
I wanted it to be a ESPN game, and now it's like, damn, you stick us with Gary Danielson and Gary Danielson and what's the other one?
Oh gosh, God, I can't even remember now.
I can't think of his name. Brad Nessler.
Thank you. Yes, I'm completely agree with you on that. I saw that come across my news feed, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're gonna take this prime time matchup that met expectations, whether we like the result of it or not, in Happy Valley. And, you know, the discussion that week, I mean, I can't tell you, Vernon, how many Penn State fans visited this channel just to join the conversation about, is Auburn ready for that type of environment? And we did a video about, like, you know, yeah, we are. If you've ever been to Tiger Stadium on a, you know, Saturday night, have you ever been to, you know, Bryant Denny? If you've been to Cowbell Nation in Mississippi State and deal with that massacre, you know, I wanted to be able to now show them, all right, we experienced it. Yours was cool. We respect it, but you're coming to Jordan-Hare on a Saturday night. And now we can't do that. And I'm so disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I was definitely disappointed when I saw the games and, you know, the times that they were going to be. And I was like, okay, 7 o'clock, Mercer, good. We don't play them at 12 to where, because we know Auburn, we tend to think, even though Auburn doesn't lose that much at 12 o'clock, but we tend to think that Auburn just doesn't play well at 12 o'clock, especially against a team that is of lesser talent. Right. And then we talk about, you know, San Jose State, a team that we've kind of handled over the years. But then you got Penn State, like I said before, a game that we wanted, that night game. We wanted that blue out. We wanted that orange out. We wanted whatever out we were going to have that night. And now we can't have it. And, you know.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's very much disappointing. You broke up there a little bit, Vernon. I don't know if you can still hear me, but I'm completely on the same page with you, Vernon, about the disappointment.
I still think looking at the first 6. That's why I did that video on the first 6, because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think you can catch a Missouri team slipping. You can also catch LSU, who is, you know, kind of doing a rebuilding thing there. And you could roll into Georgia, you know, a game that you probably will not win. You won't be favored to win, but you'll be in a respectable position to where you can have a respectable season down the stretch. So I'm excited about this. Absolutely. E2C, and I definitely appreciate you bringing me on tonight.
Of course. Please do call whenever you'd like to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Everybody. All right. Good to see you, man. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
All right. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. Right after Vernon, we got our next caller in. We talked to him last week. He's going to bust the book open on us again. Mr. Thomas, what's going on, sir?
War Eagle, Kyle, how are you this evening?
Hanging in there, man. A lot better than I was last week when I have most of I say my voice is about 95% back. You hear me kind of doing this little over here on the side, but I'm pretty good now.
No, I understand. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to get to play music occasionally, and yeah, when you wreck your voice, you wreck your voice.
Oh man, it's bad, and that was nothing I did. That was just a sickness that I had, some little virus that went away. It came on and went away. Not the big one as we talk about these days, so thankfully. But that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about me being sick or not. What's on your mind? What's in the book?
Man, last week we kind of ended with a little bit on the running backs, and so I kind of finished that up this afternoon and figured I'd throw some stats at you if you're ready.
I'm ready. Hit us.
All right, so last year, 2021 season, Tank averaged 4.9 a carry. That's awful. That's not all his fault, but that's still pretty awful.
It's not good.
He had 500-yard plus games and only averaged 84.5 yards over 13 games. So I think this year with improved blocking and just what Tank's been – he works with other coaches in the offseason. So he's continuing to improve himself. That's what he wants to do, right? Every player wants to improve themselves so they have a better season. So I'm thinking he's going to average close to 90 yards a game this year.
Yeah.
Instead of 84.5. So I think there's going to be a jump there. It all hinges on the O-line, though. It really does. And I think he's going to have about 1,200 yards this season. He almost had 1,100 this past year.
So that's only a slight improvement that you think is going to happen. You don't think he can have? Do you think he could have like a big jump?
I'm saying 1,200 on the low end for season total. I'd love to see him at 1,475 yards at the end of the year.
Yeah, that'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if he's running behind perfect blocking, he can do anything. He can be a unicorn with perfect blocking.
What I would like to see, yes, we've talked about the blocking until we're blue in the face because that's 100% true. But what I noticed with Tank last year, the freshman year, I don't know if it's because everything was new, he had a chip on his shoulder, whatever, but there was this ability to absorb the contact he first received and almost like redirect it in a different direction that he wanted to head. And this year I saw, whether it was mainly because of blocking or whatever, that first contact would come and he wouldn't fall down, but he wouldn't get that redirection of that energy somewhere else, momentum and all that. It never dies. It just gets transferred. We're going to get scientific here and talk about potential and kinetic energy and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, some of that's legit. And, I think some of the best running backs are able to take those blows and use them to their advantage, or at least not let them affect them too much. And I think whether it's because he had maybe not 100% the entire year, maybe because protection of himself a little bit, because he knew he wasn't getting great blocking, whatever the reason was, that is what I would like to see Tank do again this year, is take that first hit and bounce or redirect it and continue moving forward, even if it's just 1 or 2 yards, because a lot of times you'd see him get hit and then move to the side or move backwards as opposed to forward. That he's a tank. That's what he's supposed to do. Keep rolling forward. So right. I agree with you. I think improvement, but reasonable improvement is what to think about when you think about Tank Bigsby this year, and be pleasantly surprised because there's a high potential for that.
Right. And like you're saying, his freshman year was more of a battering ram type running back. Right. And if you rewatch a lot of film, Tank runs with, I call it crazy legs. When he starts making contact, his legs start going nuts, it's a tendency. It's not a bad thing. It's not a great thing. But from his freshman to this past season, most of his tackles his freshman year, he was making contact and running forward, and then they brought him down. This past year, everybody hit him in the legs because they knew it worked. Everybody watches film. So I don't think he necessarily has to tighten up on that, having his crazy legs, as I call them. But if he's out there in space and has the opportunity to make that contact, somebody's not coming up underneath the tackles and guards and grabbing him by the feet. As soon as he gets to the line of scrimmage, he's a different running back. And we've seen a different running back.
One other thing that you brought up that I really like is who he's been working with this offseason. I think we've all seen the videos. I think it's at Brad Lester's camp or his gym or whatever. What I like is not even what Tank's been doing and we've been seeing from, but watching Damari Alston with him, and hearing them talk about how Tank is kind of taking him under his wing. At least that's what it looks like to be, and just kind of, I think that's the next step in Tank's game, is understanding, I'm a great running back, but it's not all about me. Let me pass it on to the next generation. Let me set Auburn up for the future. And he's pulling this guy along because he sees the talent in him, and he's saying, listen, Javaris, he is he got a little bit hurt this offseason, but he'll be back. I do think that he'll probably be mostly healthy, but there's potential room there for Damari to make some noise if he wants to this season. So that's what I really love about that.
I'm going to agree with you, and I want to touch on Jarquez real quick as well.
I said Javaris, Jarquez. I think you know what I meant.
Yeah, Jarquez. And I'm excited about him. He's got a ton of upside to come in as a true freshman and put out what he did. It was 500 something yards. Yeah, that was great. That's real. Being the second back and being a true freshman to put out that kind of production, he's got some juice, man. He really does. Mm-hmm. Yep. He averaged 6.7 yards a carry and 45.6 yards a game. I think this year he's probably going to be in the 48 to 50 yards a game range, but I don't think he'll have 500 rushing yards total. I think he'll probably be in the high threes, low fours due to more Tank being in the game. Yeah. Tank looks winded after a lot of runs, but he's also fighting for his life because somebody's 3 or 4 guys are grabbing him within, a second and a half of him touching the football and the handoff. Mm-hmm. So he's wore out. He's fighting. But I think with improvements all around, we'll see more of Tank. And not necessarily less of Jarquez Hunter, but used more in the passing game and just to give Tank a breather, not 3 times the drive.
Mm-hmm. And I know we've gone through again what feels like another year of attrition transition, however you want to say it, where there wasn't a lot of stability. I mean, I know it's Harson's first year, but we're basically changing in some respects an offensive scheme again. But you got to think it's not going to be changing a whole lot this year. And so my point with that is there's going to be a lot more familiarity, a lot more comfort level with all positions on the offense that are going to start carrying over into everybody. So if we start trusting, and I say we, I mean, if Tank starts understanding that these offensive line now have had a year under Harsin, his staff, his system under Will Friend, they're getting better. He's seeing it. There's going to be a little bit more trust there. There's going to be a little bit more of that energy to power through when maybe last year it was very easy, as you said, when you're getting hit at the feet, it's like, all right, these guys are better than that. They're going to get better. Let me give that little bit of extra effort. And I'm not saying he didn't give the effort last year. I just think there was a lot of factors in why the offense didn't work. One of those being injuries, especially at the end of the year. But I'm excited for Tank. I'm excited for Jarquez, and I'm excited for Damari and even Sean Jackson, who's just gotten a scholarship. I think the running back room is not something that I worry about, even if, knock on wood, several thousand times here, somebody got hurt and was out for the season. I think the talent is there, but I sure hope that Tank is 1,500 yards or more this season. That would be really great.
Yeah, that would be great to see. But we got to check ourselves, keep it in perspective, because it all starts at the line of scrimmage.
It does. It absolutely does. And we're not done talking about that here. You're going to hear me talk about it for the next 2 months. So just saddle up.
You and me both know that's a full page in the notebook. I'm talking front and back, full page for the O-line.
Well, maybe we can talk about the full page if you got that one ready next week, and we can really hash out who do we think is going to be starting, who do we think is going to be making, what difference they're going to make this season potentially.
Yeah, I've already come up with what I think is the starting 5, but who knows? We still got fall camp.
That's the craziest thing about this is we're all speculating right now, and gosh, things can change in a dime here. We're in that period of time where everything's probably settled as it's going to be until about 1st of August. You're going to have guys go through that first week of fall camp, and they're going to start realizing, hey, I may not be as far up the depth chart as I am, and you're going to probably see that not a wave, but I mean, we all look at the quarterback room and we know something's got to give. Either someone has to give, or something's got to give. And I mean, someone's got to give and say, you know what, I just want to be part of this team no matter what that means, or I got to go somewhere else. And that probably rolls over into other positions as well. So everything will probably change in about 2 months. Well, less than 2 months time, a month and a half. Gosh, is it really that short of a time?
It's under 100 days, man, and I'm marking them off the calendar. You better believe it.
Again, we are so thankful that baseball has given us something to get excited about during the month of June. But it's making that urge to talk about these things and deal with the loss of not having football right now a little bit easier. But anyway, hey, man, thanks for calling in tonight. Let's talk next week.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good evening. War Eagle.
All right, War Eagle Thomas. All right, we've had some great callers already, you guys. Well, looks like we've got another one. It's like back to back to back to back. Let's get them all in right now. Kevin, how are you doing, sir?
War Eagle, how are you doing, Cal?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? What you want to talk about tonight? What's on your mind?
I think we can beat Oregon State 2-0 in the Super Regionals.
I sure hope you're right, because it's tough enough to go to let's say somewhere in the Southeast and lose a series, but can you imagine traveling all the way to Oregon, way out there, and coming to home without a winning of a series and going to the College World Series? So I hope that you're right, man. If we sweep, in a sense, win 2-0 Oregon State, we will be very highly thought of when it comes College World Series time. But it's why you go out there and play the game. Got to figure it out.
And I think Tank will get some like 100 yards rushing this year too.
I think he'll do it at least a few times in a few games. How many games? So you've got 12 regular season games. How many 100-yard rushing games do you think he will have realistically?
I think he might have 100 yards in the 7th game.
In 7 games or the 7th game? I gotta think of
7 games.
7 games. That's probably likely, because I can see where you run into some tough defenses like Alabama, Georgia,
Arkansas.
I'm sure Arkansas. Teams that are a little bit better against the run game. And if our offensive line still hasn't progressed as much as we hope and believe that they can, then you could probably see that. So 7's, I think that's a fair estimate. I like it. That's a good estimate.
I saw you talk to that other kid. That kid named Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, he was just on before you. I mean, you guys are back to back. Yep. What else is on your mind, sir?
I think they will how many games they got this year?
For which football?
Football.
So you have 12 games every year. You've got the 4 non-conference games, yes, and 8 SEC games. And then if you make the SEC championship, obviously, if you're SEC West champions, and then if you make the playoffs, go all the way. You got 2 games there. So you could play up to 15 games, but at least 12, if not 13.
That'd be nice if we went 12-0.
Gosh, it would be so nice. It would be very nice. I don't think that's right now. I think that's a bit of a step out to expect that. But hey, I love optimism. It's much more pleasant to talk about.
I think they will have a fan day too this year.
I hope you're right, Kevin. They've done them a little bit differently since the pandemic. I do think they will do something similar to what they did with A-Day, where they're going to have stuff outside the stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to do autographs, and I think that has less to do though with COVID stuff, but it has to do with NIL stuff. They want money for their autographs now, which is
did they do autographs last year?
They have not done autographs officially since the pandemic started. That stopped, with the pandemic.
Hopefully they do that regular season football games this year.
The guys, they'll still do them. I mean, if you catch them like going, to their dorms or outside, stuff like that, and they've met people in the stands before and done it.
After the games, I go to the dorms, wait for my sister comes.
That's probably a good position to be in.
They sign my program there.
That is probably a smart decision. If you want to get a signature these days, just go where you know that they're going, or just wait outside the locker room.
Yeah.
When they leave, that's always a good suggestion as well. All right, real quick before you head out, you said you think we're going to win the 2 games in baseball.
Yeah.
If we don't though, if we went to 3 games, do you think we win the first game or the second game?
We win the first and second game.
Oh, I know, but let's just assume we go to 3. Do you think we win Saturday night or Sunday night?
Sunday night.
Sunday night that would likely be Joseph Gonzalez pitching. So I would probably agree with you there.
He's pitching Saturday night.
Well, we don't know officially, but you can probably expect it if we go to all 3 games. It'll be Chase Bright, Joseph Gonzalez, and then Mason Barnett.
Barnett did good.
He did very good. He was a very bright spot on a very good weekend. So I was very happy about it.
He'll be pitching Saturday.
You think he'll be pitching Saturday?
Yeah.
I think it's still going to be Trace's job. I think he's done good enough. I think he'll still get the nod, but don't be shocked if you see Mason come in a little bit early if they think they need him. Might be.
And our bats need to go long ways, score about 21 runs on them.
Listen, there's no shortage of runs that needed to be scored this weekend to ensure us to get to Omaha. So I agree with you there. So we'll watch and we'll talk a little bit after the games, maybe Saturday and Sunday nights. But thanks for calling in tonight, Kevin.
Next Wednesday.
What's that?
I call you back next Wednesday.
Call me back next Wednesday, but make sure you come after the, and be part of the post-game shows if it's not too late for you, okay?
Okay, wiggle.
All right, wiggle, Kevin. All right, we got another caller. We are back to back to back to back. Let me take a quick sip here. And then we can get another familiar face in with his silhouette, Mr. Russell. What's going on, sir? Hey, man, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hey, buddy, how you doing tonight? Yeah, the signal's getting crazy. A big storm behind me. I hope. Tell me if you can't hear me, and I'll try to adjust.
You're all good. We got you loud and clear now.
Sweet. Glad to see you healthy this week. It's good to see, bud.
Somewhat. I'm I'm healthy in the sense that I'm not going to get anybody else sick, and that I'm not. I can do my normal things, but I still got a little bit of a cough, a little pitiful cough, but about as good as I can be.
Get your workout in. Go run some stadiums. We'll kick it out.
Oh, listen, I played basketball last night till about 11:30 at night, and that was my first test to see if I could do it. And I held up, so I think that's why I say I'm probably 99% of the way back. It's just this little cough that I got left.
Nice. Good to see. We need you. We need you for the off season full strength.
Yeah, man. Listen, I need to be getting rest this off season because when the content starts needing to come out on a super regular basis, when we hit about August, that's I know we'll get into more interesting topics for everybody else, but since you brought it up, it's been funny sitting back this, off season, and this is the first full year that I've been doing this full time and trying to kind of learn what you guys like to watch as a collective. I know everybody's got different likes and dislikes and stuff, and figure out what works for the channel. And, it's weird when we get to this period because I don't want the channel to be dead outside of our Wednesday night shows and when we have an opportunity to do some other things. But, it's just been nice. I need to relish when I don't have as many videos to make. So, because when, like I said, when August rolls around to about August until really March again, here we go.
Anyway, I got a feeling you're about to get a bunch of incoming commits, so it's going to start rolling here soon. You're on top of the transfers, so I like that, but you're about to have to be on top of the freshmen coming in next year.
Oh yeah, I know there's plenty of things that I'm just waiting to start dropping that it's going to keep me busy. But anyway, all right, what's on your mind tonight, sir?
Nothing specific. I just like hearing everybody's talk, of course. I'm liking the Tank talk, and I was going to kind of talk with you about that. And there was one more thing. I always forget. I got to start writing this stuff down. There's so many things when I hear people talk. I just want to remark on everything. But anyway, yeah, the Tank talk. I just some thoughts on that. Of course, health withstanding, everybody likes to make predictions and all that. And like last year, I made a 9-win prediction on the season. That was health withstanding. Our starting quarterback got hurt. Things just kind of go out the window when that happens. But I mean, health withstanding next year, Tank was talked into coming back to Auburn by Harsin for a reason, talking about he'd be the centerpiece of the offense. So then again, I have to emphasize health because at running back, they take a beating, and even the best athletes can get banged up. But he knows this is his year, and I think everybody at Auburn and everybody else knows this is his last year at Auburn. Everybody's pretty sure because he's just that type of back. We're glad to have him for 3 years, that type of back. But yeah, if he can, there's just a couple things, and I'm no expert at all by any means, but I just remember when Carnell was playing, he was always, coaches were on him, Eddie Graham, big time about picking his legs up. And I noticed, I think a couple of your callers had emphasized that they went for the legs. I think Thomas said that was a lot of his tackles was people just going for his leg, which is true. And I noticed that a lot. He would try to outrun people, but people were really attacking. And it's like he wasn't, I don't know if he wasn't prepared for it or what it was, but it surprised me because with Carnell being his running back coach and him going through the same thing when he was at Auburn, I'm hoping this offseason, if they emphasize that, with his cutting ability and his just speed to get on the edge. Oh my goodness, if he can just break some of those tackles. He was so close to some really big runs last year. And if he can stay healthy, I could see it's hard for a running back to win the Heisman, but I could see him going for 1,500 yards next year and hopefully about 20-something touchdowns, especially being the centerpiece to the offense as Harsin's emphasis.
I think a couple things that you said there I like. I don't want to point out the leg thing. Yeah, I think even if it's not specifically about the legs, the SEC schools specifically spent an entire freshman year with the kid getting demolished by him for the most part. So that's a year's worth of tape and a year's worth of saying, how did this freshman do this to us? Well, they figured it out, whether it's something he did or just attacking the offensive line or even just attacking the offense a different way to where it eliminates his ability to be as successful or as much of a contributor to the offense. So I think it was a combination of a lot of things for Tank. I think it was, it was maybe not 100%. Maybe he didn't absorb as much as we talked about, but I think it's also every sport, especially football, is a chess game. It's just a matter of when the team opposite of you, the person you're playing in chess, when do they make that move to position a piece that makes it more difficult for you to be as successful as you were. And they obviously did that with Tank in some way last year. So I think another year under the tutelage of a guy like Cadillac, as you talked about, and let's not forget that Cadillac and Tank are two different types of backs. I would equate Tank more to a Ronnie Brown type, maybe with a little bit of tendencies to break away like Cadillac could, but a year under him, yes, where he had to also make some adjustments. I think health and adjustments and also leadership this year for Tank is something that's going to really set him apart if he does want to make a Heisman run. So, but I'm excited for him.
Everything you said, I agree with. There's another key aspect. I've heard some people kind of briefly, I think, mention it, but one thing that was harping on me last season, and I don't hear enough people talk about it. Maybe I'm just way off. I could possibly be, but there were games last year where Tank was really starting to establish himself, and they would not necessarily go away from him, but the type of runs they would call would change. And I know that sounds picky, and I haven't really seen anybody pick up on this, but when I went back and I watched some of the film, some things that bothered me, some of the successful runs, they went away from him and they were doing other runs. And then so it's almost like people had the argument, oh, well, they still ran with him and he didn't do well, but they didn't really focus on the fact that the running, the attack that they were doing in the running game changed. I'd have to go back and watch to be more specific, but I saw it multiple games, and I just think he was misused in that respect. And I think it kind of showed in the South Carolina game, not just with the fact that they weren't using me in critical situations, but the fact that some of the calls, and I think I remember some of the offensive linemen, you don't come out and you just out your coach and throw him under the bus, but they would say little small things sometimes about how specific type of attacks in the running game that they need to get back to and things of that nature. And they never did. That's what was so frustrating to me as a hard-nosed, physical type of old-school guy. If you can establish the run, you can control the game, in my opinion. As long as you have a competent defense, you can win most of your football games if you have a decent running game. So if we can establish that with a capable passing game, like I think we have a good quarterback, that's a lethal combination. And I'm just excited to see Harsin and see what he does, because he talked Tank into coming back. And I think he saw some of the I think he talked about that, if I'm not mistaken, in one or two press conferences about using Tank differently in some of the running attacks that they're going to do this year. That caught my attention because that's what bothered me last year. He's a I don't know if you want to call him a generational running back. He probably is, because he's on par, in my opinion, talent level with Carnell and people like that. Some of the best running backs Auburn's had, utilized properly, and health. Again, I have to emphasize health. If he stays healthy, we're in for a really big year next year with that defense, because I think our offensive line is going to naturally improve with the physical conditioning that they're going to get in year 2 of this training program and the coaching under Will Friend. I had high hopes when I talked to you last year on the podcast, and I told you I was expecting big improvement last year. Well, they improved, I think, a little bit, but not as much as I thought they were. I'm hoping year 2, with so many older 24-year-olds coming back to start on your offensive line. You couple that with a competent quarterback, as we saw last year, and the depth has changed. The roster looks different now. People may not be happy with Harsin or whatnot, but coming from somebody who knows a little bit of football, the roster top to bottom is looking a lot better. And every year after this, our roster is going to be getting better. And I think people are going to be impressed, in my opinion, because he's replacing outgoing players that transfer with if not the same type, if not better. When you really look at transfer side by side, which ones he's bringing in, which ones are going out. No discredit to the guys that went out, because I like them, still going to root for them. But the guys he's bringing in, they're really good. They're really, really good players. But anyway, that got off topic about Tank. But there's my mind again going Auburn. Sorry, there's a big crane flying in behind me.
I see it.
But yeah, I'm really hoping for. What do you think about that? What's your opinions on? I don't know if you remember too much about the running calls, but they seem to do more like just simple draws throughout the game and crazy things that weren't gonna, like they talked about power hitting them in the mouth. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna hit them in the mouth and establish the run. That's what they said all season before this season, and they did that somewhat, but they got away from it. Even when it was successful, it was driving me nuts, especially South Carolina. Just so many games last year. I think it's going to change. I think that's what Harsin's doing. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Well, what I was going to say in response to your question, I think, yes, their full intention was to do some of the things that they said they wanted to do. And Harsin addressed this in some of his press conferences. If you listen to him, they would ask that. It's like, well, you said you're going to do these things, but you're not doing them. Why is that? Is that, well, you go in with a game plan, but you have to adjust. Again, we talked about chess to what's being presented in front of you. And so I think a lot of people, not you, not anybody specifically, but just would get mad when they wouldn't do the things at the certain time. But again, we as the fans are operating with 33% of the information. Right. They're working with all of it. And so do I think that they did as much as they could have to do what they said they thought they needed to do more of? No. Do I think they tried? Yes. I think there's also a difference in scheme ideas and offensive ideologies, obviously, clearly between Bobo and Harsin.
Yeah.
You only need to look at a fourth and inches and a fade route being thrown to see that.
Yes.
So I would say that, yes, I think that there were some frustrations there, but on all accounts, fans and players wise, but maybe even on the coaching staff as well. But it wasn't for lack of trying to do the things that everyone saw. It was simply they didn't feel that they were being presented the opportunities to take advantage of those moments. But the great thing is we get a new shot at it this year with a new offensive scheme. And as much as people didn't like Bobo, he's gone. So you don't have to worry about that now.
That's right. We're on to bigger and better, I'm hoping. But yeah, not to throw Bobo under the bus. I appreciate what he did because I think he worked wonders for Bo last year with quarterback coaching. But I'm really anxious to see the attack this year, Kyle, to see how different I think it's going to be, and just a better overall talented roster, top to bottom. Yeah, I'm excited. People are sleeping on that defensive line, but they won't be by the end of the season. Oh my goodness, I'm so ready to see those guys. But
well,
anyway,
you only got a month and a half, as we addressed, left, at least till we get some juicy things to talk about. So just sit tight, my friend.
I'm ready. You can tell my energy level gets up when I start talking that. So yeah, I'm ready, just like you are, Kyle. But yeah, good talking with you tonight, man, and glad to see you feeling better. And yeah, God bless. See you guys.
God bless you too, sir. Thank you for calling in. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Great callers tonight. I can leave the phone lines open for just a few more minutes if you guys would like to call in. We got a lot of our normals and a few new ones in as well. So don't be shy. It's up at the top. Love to hear from some of you guys. I'll get back to some of your comments and questions in the interim. Let me do this really quick thing. And I meant to do this last week, and I failed them on this sense. You've heard us talk a little bit about someone that we've been partnering with pretty regularly here on some of our stuff, and that's our friends at All Things Auburn. You can see their logo on the side up here. They are, I want to do justice to what Tanya and everybody else that works for her do in terms of helping you have a great stay in Auburn, Alabama. Now, obviously, as things go when it comes to sporting, and if you're looking for a place to stay, you can find plenty of those options at Auburn, and this is one of those. Well, but make sure that you do so as early as possibly as you can if you're looking for a place to stay in Auburn, whether it's for a game day or not, because they do book up fast. But the great thing about Tanya and what she does, it's not just a room, it's an experience. That's what we talk about here, the Auburn experience. So our friends at allthingsauburn.com, I think it's .net. I'm butchering this, but All Things Auburn, you can find them on Facebook as well. Go check out our friends there if you're looking for a place a company and a group of people to help you have the best possible experience to take on the Auburn experience. All right, let's get back to comments and questions here. Devin, a little bit of baseball talk because I want to address that Chandler was here too. Auburn in 3 games this weekend. I think that's probably the most likely scenario that we win. My son said he wants to play baseball for Auburn. He's only 4, so that might change, but I agree. It would be great. Listen, I think every little kid that grows up in an Auburn household wants to, be son A and B, and you always hear the football one. So I'm glad to hear that there's a kid that values the other sports, especially maybe the lower of the big 3, not lower, but the less enticing sometimes than the big 3. All right. I said we need some more callers. Here's one of our regulars, Mr. Dusty. What's going on, sir?
Where are you, brother? Good evening.
How are you doing, sir? What's on your mind?
Baseball.
No, of course it is. How are you? Like we were talking a little bit about it before we let you on here, but what are you thinking? Like what's your gut telling you about this weekend?
It's hard not to feel good after this weekend. Or the previous weekend we just had. That was just incredible, man. 21-7 on Florida State. That's beautiful. And where I live at, I had some fun with that.
I bet you did. I forgot completely about that angle for you. That was probably a fun night for you.
I did. And the score was even, the score was great too, like 21-7. It makes it look he won by 2 touchdowns. So had some fun with that. But and then I watched Oregon State, and they're a strong program, and they're always up there. So you have to respect them. That's a long trip for us to make. Late start. Hopefully the boys will get up there soon. Do you know when they're traveling up there?
So I believe, and that's a great question. I meant to say this earlier. We just had so many great callers tonight. They're doing a reverse Tiger Walk Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Central Time, I believe. So I guess they're traveling to a plane. I don't know if they're flying out of Atlanta or the Auburn airport right after that. So it looks like Thursday, late afternoon is probably or Oregon time is probably when they're arriving, but evening for us here in the Southeast.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to have Thursday to get in and get situated, Friday to get out there, get used to the terrain and the field, and I'm sure the air is a lot nicer than the humidity that we have down here right now. But yeah, Saturday night, that's when it all gets real, man, in Oregon State. I can't believe that we have to travel all the way out there, though.
Yeah. Vandy really dropped the ball there.
Since when has Vandy ever done anything right except for schoolwork? I mean, really, come on.
It's bad. And then it was crazy because a little off topic, but the LSU Southern Miss was going on at the same time. And I was way more interested in that because that game was just nuts. But I kept trying to flip back over to the Vandy to see, because shout out to you. Shout out to everybody that was there this weekend. Everybody that came back Monday. Obviously, you didn't know, that was tough to put that together. So a lot of people were upset that they had to leave to get back to work Sunday night. So just shout out to everybody for making that an awesome weekend. That was great. It was fun to watch. I would have given anything to be there, man. So that was just really cool. I'm glad that we got that opportunity. I'm glad that everybody put on and showed out like that. It was just really cool to see, man. It really was.
We got a viewer from Oregon. I got a Beaver family here. Said should be mid 60s and beautiful in Corvallis. That does actually sound like great baseball weather, to be honest with you.
No rain.
That's the thing we need to ask Connor. Well, how's the rain looking up there? Because it is.
I've never watched Oregon State play baseball, and there not been rain coming down, and they just keep playing. Like, shout out to them, because if we have a cloud, son, it's getting postponed.
Don't get me started about this weekend. Listen, if you could have been with me on Sunday night and watching me just rant and rave up in the parking deck every time they would restart the timer because there was a lightning bolt 8 miles away. I mean, I was like, the people that ended up I met throughout the weekend, and it's kind of sat up there with me all weekend. I'm sure they got annoyed with me because I was just beside me. I was like, this is no common sense whatsoever. So if Oregon State is going to be smart, just play through it. I know it's very little to do with Auburn or Oregon State. It's NCAA rules, but when has the NCAA done anything right? So anyway, you got me on a rant. So
yeah, I know. So, but overall with the baseball, man, then I want to get at something Russell said. It's good to hear from you, Russell.
Yeah.
I think it's no, I'm not going to get predictions, but I like it because it's just been, I'm all superstition at this point. But I feel really, really good, man. Like, and it's nothing against Connor. It's nothing against Oregon State. Y'all are great. Like, I would much rather play somebody else. But it's just, we are so deep. Like, we're experienced. I mean, me and you talked previously about like guys like Kason Howell, and then and you see him step up. I mean, who didn't have a great weekend at the plate? And then if we get that Mason Barnett, if Trace Bryant can just go out there and keep the other team under 3 or 4 runs, we all know what Gonza is going to do. I really like where we're at. I really do. And
the other thing I would say about that,
expectation,
Yeah, the other thing I would say about that in the pitching is, and I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer or like a pessimist about this, but as great as Gonzo's been, every pitcher has an off period. And so, is he due for one of those again? But the thing that encourages me is what you just said. Trace, as back and forth of the season as he's had, he's been, I think, a little bit more reliable as the season has gone on in terms of what you're going to get out of him, and he manages that situation. When we talk about game manager, but Mason Barnett, for being thrust into a weekend starter role when you're the midweek guy and going out there and putting together solid work, I think has given Joseph Gonzalez, has given Trace the ability to know that, look, if I mess up, it's not the end of the world this weekend. Mason's been doing some great work. Joe's been picking up my back. Or if Joe messes up, Trace has been doing his job, and Mason's been picking up the slack as well. Even though you lost Hayden Mullins, the pitching staff has been, as the season goes on, more and more of a good surprise for me.
Yeah, and our lineup is so good. they just don't give the game away. Just keep us in the ball game, and then you feel like, we're gonna get hits. But everybody, I've been totally focused on baseball. Everyone's been talking football tonight, though. Russell said 20-something touchdowns and 1,500 yards. My man, if Tank does that, we're gonna have double-digit wins, and it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is if that's what we do, and that would be great. I think they're gonna have to scheme up some stuff as far as like outside, runs and different things. And Russell made really good points about times that we went away from Tank late in games, Penn State, and then specifically South Carolina, which is a game he brought up. It's just the truth. I mean, they shouldn't have gone away from him. And you put that on the offensive coordinator, in my opinion, to a point. Like,
right.
Okay, this is very bad. Like, I want to say, I'll just off the top of my head, I want to say Tank was average 6.8 yards a carry that game, or he was averaging 6.8 going into the fourth quarter. And then I know that he touched the ball twice in the fourth quarter. And that's 2 years in a row that this is a bigger Auburn problem. 2 years in a row, we've played South Carolina, clearly the better team. Like, it's not even a question as far as talent. We are the better team, and we just can't get out of our way. So, and that's two different regimes. That's two totally different schemes so at some point, it's kind of like if any of y'all remember like the Red Sox with the Curse of the Bambino.
Oh gosh.
or the Cubs with whatever. See, and use the LSU thing, for example, right? Us winning LSU this year. Next time we go to Baton Rouge, we're not going to hear about that. It's just going to be about playing LSU and on the road. When it became a thing over 2 decades, oh my God, Auburn has it won in Baton Rouge. It became this cloud that was hanging over. Whether it was Gus, whether it was Harsin, whatever, man, we're going to have to bust through costing ourselves these games. And I know I wear Auburn glasses, but like that A&M game, we lost 19-3, and they didn't score a touchdown. They not offensively. Their offense didn't score a touchdown. That's giving a team the game.
Yep.
That's the definition of it.
It's off of turnovers, right? It's giving them opportunities they shouldn't have had.
Alabama, come on, man. Like, you gave the team the game. It's just, there's so many of it. Georgia's really the only one where it was like, okay, man, we're outmatched at the line of scrimmage, and we all knew that going into it. If you'd watched that team play, they've got 350 pounders that run 4.6s, 4.5s, whatever. We're just not there. And side note on that,
you're not that guy, bro.
Yeah, we don't have any of those. And side note on that is, man, it sure would be cool if the NCAA would ever take a peek at how Georgia got all these players all of a sudden, because people commit to Auburn and their Twitter and their Instagram posts are always like, hey man, it's family, I love the atmosphere, blah 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 blah. They commit to Georgia and they tweet out money bags. So I don't, which it's legal now, so it is what it is. But their rise was very, very sketchy.
It's very interesting.
Pickens or whatever his name was all Auburn until something happened.
I think Bo was recruiting him hard, wanting him to come with him, and I think that shocked him a little bit too. Well, probably didn't shock him, but it probably is like, if Bo probably knows things that he probably wouldn't tell us now. But anyway, real quick, I do want to I want to come back to some things at the end of the show. Connor brought up about weather and just what to expect this weekend since he's an Oregon State fan. But since we're talking about football here, let's talk about that. Some other questions that were brought up. Where did it go? I thought it was. What do you think about Craig McDonald? We brought him up a little bit earlier. He's the safety transfer in from Iowa State. You think he's going to be a starter, or do you think he'll just be part of the rotation?
I think he's a rotation guy to start, but then you'll have to see, because you're also working in, I want to say his name's Keontae Scott, the top safety from JUCO. You're working in these guys, so that'll be interesting. I mean, the good thing is that you're at this point where what you're going to get out of the transfer portal, like you're not going to get some guy entering the portal that just has crazy stats or something like that. So you're going to get guys like, Days and Worsham or whatever that haven't played any snaps at all, or a Cory Moore that has, limited snaps, but these are like high touted recruits. They still have plenty of eligibility. So with McDonald, the thing that's exciting is that he played at a Power 5 conference, and he got on the field as a freshman. So, you know, he still got plenty of time as eligibility, and they trusted him enough to put him out there. And Iowa State's been in some big games. They've been a program that's improving. Like I've seen them, you know, they're definitely appears to be on the up and up. So, and that's decent. That's not SEC level, but that's definitely high level ball. So
yeah,
I'm excited about him, and it's a depth piece, and then it speaks to this thing was really going downhill fast. I mean, and I know we all don't like the powers that be, the behind the scenes guys, and this, that, and the other. But man, looking at it now, it may be a blessing in disguise, that whole situation, because one, Harsin has really made an effort, like we talked about a lot, to get out to us as a fan base and to kind of show his personality. And then I think he's done a really good job in the portal. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is a lineman.
right.
That's just, you know, that's a hard thing when everyone's trying to get him. But there's 5 or 6 linemen that are just going to be on campus for the next 2 weeks. It's the main focus of recruiting. So they're really going after him. I heard everybody else at the baseball game so they could see the light shows going on in the football stadium. Those were big time recruits that were in there. So, and I, like you, don't necessarily look at one guy and say, okay, he's a 3-star, he's a 5-star, but I look at it as a class, right? So, like, not all those guys aren't going to pan out, but you want to have 10 to 15 of these highly touted guys, because some of them are going to pan and some of them aren't. And we're always good on hitting on the guys like Mercury and stuff. So we're going to do that anyway. And one thing I do think Harsin has proved already is these guys that are like 3-stars that are going to shoot up the rankings, and he seems to be first on them. He saw Jarquez when nobody else saw Jarquez. You look at this Brock Glenn, this quarterback right now that seems to be our main focus on this upcoming class.
Right.
We were on him steady. Well, Ohio State just offered him. Now he's going to the Elite 8. So it looks like Harsin kind of has a good grasp of all that. So I like the Greg McDonald. I like everybody that he's brought in. He has done a really, really good job since everything that went on in every way possible. So, and now the team we know that nobody's there, right, that doesn't want to be there. Like, you had your opportunity. Hopefully everybody that doesn't want to be there is gone. Now everybody that's there knows how to get to meetings on time, knows to show up to practice with the right kind of pads and stuff on. Just a lot of the stories that are coming out from previous stuff, man. That's really wild to me. Like, that you wouldn't. I can't understand not taking the best of having a football scholarship at Auburn. But, you know, everybody's different. So I feel like we've got responsible kids there now that are all together as a team. The facility's about to come up, and I'm optimistic, man. So now it comes down to, we're going to be in a close quite. I bet you it's week 3. I bet you we're in a close game tight in the 4th quarter. Let's quit beating ourselves. Let's make that big play at the end, and then let's find a way. And then let's start turning this thing. That's what it's going to take. All this talk is just talk, man. We're going to have to bust through. I've been yelling at my TV for 3 years now. Somebody make a play. You're going to have to break a tackle. You're going to have to make a play. You're going to have to do something. Y'all got me fired up about football.
Dusty's in mid-season form, and we're only in June, buddy. Hey, you need to settle down before somebody gets arrested, all right? I know you probably haven't seen, there's a show called Big Brother, but there was this guy that was a high-intensity guy they brought in, and he was talking to this other high-intensity guy, and he goes, hey, man, listen, I'm at 100. You're about a 90. If we keep going, somebody's going to get arrested here, because we're at 190% right now. So
it's Russell and Thomas's fault.
Well, as always, man, great call. Great to hear from you. I'm looking forward to talking to you a little bit this weekend after baseball too.
Hey, Connor, y'all treat us right. War Eagle, everybody.
All right, War Eagle, man. Great call as always from Dusty. Good to hear from him. All right, I'll get back to some other comments and questions here. We're doing a little bit longer show just because I don't have a specific time limit tonight that I have, but we'll wrap up here in a little bit. But I do want to get back to some of the things Connor was talking about, since he's from Oregon State and it's relevant to us. We were talking a lot about weather and stuff like that. They pretty decent weather, it seems like, in terms of temperature and stuff like that. But it is the Pacific Northwest, so you can expect a little bit more moisture. He was talking a little bit when asked about how lightning and all this other stuff. Says not normally turf drains really well. So they'll go unless it pours, but normally just a mist and drizzle. And that's kind of what I expected as well. He also says ICR teams is pretty similar. Honestly, I haven't watched y'all down on the plains. That atmosphere in the outfield looks fun. Maybe some Auburn faithful will make the trip. We had some people talking back and forth about that with him, just about how there will be, some fans there, but nothing like we typically travel just because it's Oregon. I mean, like it's a lot. That's other than being in Miami, that's about as far as you could travel to get there. And he continues to reiterate that how beautiful it is up there. Listen, I've been to the Pacific Northwest, several times. Well, I shouldn't say several, enough times that I have a very big appreciation for how beautiful it is out there. I've been to Oregon. I've been to Washington State. I've been to Alaska. It's amazing. Listen, just if you can make it, if you have not like planned a summer vacation yet, go get in an Auburn, game and go up and see the Cascade Mountains, go up and see Seattle while you're up there. Listen, town gets a little crazy that up there, in my opinion, but hey, listen, it doesn't take away from how beautiful that place is up there. It's one of the true treasures of our country. And he says that all Auburn fans are welcome. I think, what I would say to you in response, Connor, too, is what people find most of the time is that Auburn fans, especially when you come to Auburn, we're pretty welcoming by and large, unless you're certain fan bases. I don't see any reason why Oregon State fans and Auburn fans can't have a great time together this weekend. And you got a lot of people have appreciated you joining in on the conversation tonight. So let me do this. I'm going to close the phone lines down, but if you'd like to call in, it's still up there. We'll talk for a few more minutes, but I'm just going to go ahead and start the process of winding the show down tonight. But don't go anywhere. We're not done just yet. There's some more comments and questions coming in. But let me do this just so that we're not smashing at the end. As always, I want to remind you of our typical stuff, right? We run a business here. We got to talk about these things. If you haven't, please subscribe. Not just subscribe, hit the notification bell, mark it to all notifications so you don't miss anything here. Podcasts, live streams, edited videos, shorts. Like we do it all here on this stuff. You also have our podcast app out there where you can go and download our podcast. Not all. So that's the great thing is on our social media, on our podcast and here, there's a lot of it that kind of overlaps, but there's a lot that doesn't overlap. So you really want to follow all those things. All those links are in the description for ways to stay connected with what we're doing, whether it's myself or other contributors as well. We also want to remind you to check out some of the links in the description for ways you can help support our content, such as becoming a channel member here. Hit the join button for $1 a month, or check out, I've brought my little banners up as I always do. $1 a month channel membership. That's what it gets you there. Emojis, you get little icons next to your name. You've seen several of our viewers tonight have those there, but there's also the Booster Club. Several people have done this as opposed to being a channel member, or both, where you can get some perks for yourself and be part of the Booster Club. I shared some of my experiences this weekend with our Booster Club members and give them some insights from time to time, bloopers and things like that. Those are ways that you can help support our content, shop at our TeePublic store. I threw it all out there. And Dusty says, join the Booster Club, because we got a great group over there that love to hang out and talk about some things over there. All right. Devin, also just a personal thing. I know you said you appreciated the information about where to stay at Auburn. I'm gonna send you their links and stuff in the Patreon app, just so you can have a quick link, because I do recommend them highly. That they're good people. Good. If you're looking for good people, that's who you want to work with. All right. Let's get back over here. Let's see. Where were we? What's your prediction for the record for Auburn this season? Again, Carrie, it's way too early for that. We'll probably do that mid-August as an official prediction, maybe early August, maybe right at the week after we start, if I start getting word of things. I would say right now 8 wins is a expectation. When I start filling this out a little bit more, that might go lower, that might go higher. I don't know. Do I think it'll be better? I think it'll be better, because we did 6 and 7 this year. 6 and 7? Yeah, 6 and 7. Not good. Yes, and I agree. I like him as well. I like him just from the simple fact that it's best for Auburn not to go through a transition again right now. You're a UW, or your husband's a UW, and you hate Oregon. Well, this is Oregon State, so I guess we can all be in solidarity with them after that. Duck fans are really the only ones we can't stand. So they're like the Alabama for you, right? We understand. We appreciate that so much. Carrie asked, what kind of perks do you get? Well, here, again, let me explain. Since Carrie asked, I know you guys you just did that, Kyle. Let me explain again. So at the Booster Club, the main thing, you get recognized on our website on a page there for being a Booster Club member. It's just like a thing. We'll give you shout outs and things like that. We're about to bring Auburn Roots back. You can tell your Auburn story on that podcast here. That's exclusive invites for just our Booster Club members. Bloopers from our shows we post up there. We do little insights. It has a little, app where I can communicate with everybody a little bit easier. So I share little insights and things that I think I know and understand and all those kind of things. He's not going to sit here and lie to you and make that you're getting the latest breaking news, but every now and again we get some tidbits. And sometimes I just like to share cool experiences with you guys that we don't share anywhere else. So, there are little small perks here and there. You can even be, if you're at a certain level, you can shape the content, meaning you get to say, I want to do a podcast, and you will do it with you. That's seen Dusty do that a lot. So go check it out. Patreon.com/E2C network. It's in the description. You said SEC fans could learn from Connor. I took a shot at UT. They joke. Tennessee, man. They are. Oh, yeah. Shoot me the link. Yes, I will shoot you the link as well to check them out. I'm going to do a little bit better because we're going to be working with them a lot. I'm going to have some better recognition for them on here and stuff, so you can do that. Yes, Carrie, it does cost $1 a month. Get you some of the perks. Just check the link out. It explains it all there. $1 a month is what will get you in the door to get a lot of the stuff. Let's see here. I'm trying to, some of these we've already kind of hit. I can't believe how classless their team, talking about Tennessee, was flipping the other team off running the bases. This is one of those times where a team reflects its coach. And I think it's, I don't know the man personally, but from everything that I've seen thus far this season, it's a reflection of the coach. Could our baseball team be hitting any better before Super Regionals? Answer, no. 44 runs broke the record for most runs scored by an SEC team in the first two games of the regional. So yes, I think, Connor, that's what you need to prepare for, as a team that's batting hot right now. Will it carry over? We will find out. You also need to prepare for a team that just believes that they can win. Will that carry over? We'll find out. But that's kind of where things are sitting at this moment. The third game wasn't too shabby either. Yes, it was not. It was pretty boring at times, actually, but not too shabby in the sense that we were always in the lead or in control. Do I like DeMar Alston? I do. I like specifically that he is learning very closely under Tank Bigsby's tutelage. I like that. I like to see that type of stuff. A little insight for Auburn fans. Cooper Jerpy is how I'm going to try to pronounce it, is arguably the best pitcher in the nation, so it should be fun. Well, I'm going to disagree because Joseph Gonzalez is the best pitcher. Now, listen, I'm not going to I'll be realistically. I don't know enough about pitchers around the country to make a fair assessment of that. I do know that Joseph Gonzalez is quite the talent, and I know Oregon State is a great baseball program, so it would not shock me for you to have the best pitcher in the nation. I would counter to you one of the best pitchers in the nation from Florida State. We made mincemeat of this weekend. So now we're getting feisty. 51 runs in 3 games, most of any SEC team in the NCAA tournament history. It's great stuff, isn't it? All right, we've been doing this for about an hour and a half. Excuse me. My voice is starting to give. Want to remind you guys, as per some of you suggested that you'll show up, we're going to try to do a post-game reaction show as soon as the game ends on Saturday night. Probably for Sunday night and maybe for Monday night as well. If that's what it comes down to, win or lose, just talk it out. So hopefully Connor will come back and talk with us too. But we will try not to go long on those, but I would love to see some of you guys here. If you can, even just stop by after the fact if you can't show up live. But as I always do, I set it for a certain time, but it'll, have to change based on how the game ends. I know it's late, but if, it'll be exciting to talk to some of y'all if we, as Auburn fans, get off to a good start. So I hope you can tune in. And obviously we'll reassess things when the Super Regionals is over, whoever's happy or not, and then we'll talk about that as well. All right, last minute comments and questions here. Kevin Costner says if you pitch it, Auburn will slug it. He would Jerpy, is that how you say it? I don't know. Jerpy, finalist for the Golden Spikes and rejected the first pitcher taken. Well, there you go. That's about all you need, right? Got to go right now. It's time for you to get some sleep. Yeah, me too. Well, I got plenty of other things to do, but I got some other things. Yes, this was a great stream. Lots of good call-ins. Devin, would love to hear from you again soon on a future live stream. Remember, you can always call in on most of those reaction shows. I probably won't do them for the late night ones because we just need to get in and get out, but we always want to hear from you too. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here tonight, being part of the show, calling in. Again, this is your show, your comments, your questions, your calls. That's what Wednesday nights are all about. None of this, we're going to tell you all the things that you need to know. It's about us. It's about you, the Auburn family, and sometimes our Oregon State friends too. But thank you guys so much for being here, being part of the show. Smash the like button on the way out. Tell a friend about us. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle. Look out, I was about to have some great comeback and it was terrible, but good luck, Oregon State.